Welcome to Green Homes and Bacon, and in this week's episode I'm heading out to a beachside suburb on Queensland's Sunshine Coast to meet Adam and Nikki Young and check out their award-winning green home. While Lee pops in on a Year 5 class at the Norfolk Village State School just to see how eco-savvy our kids are becoming.
You're watching Green Homes and Bacon.
Peregian Beach is today's feature home location, which lies at the northern end of Queensland's Sunshine Coast. Established around 1960, it has a population of 2,700, and this is the town centre. And this is me. It has a village-style commercial precinct offering boutique shopping and dining, which includes the Wahoo Seafood Cafe, locally famous for its deep-fried Mars bar. And just a short walk across the road from town, you'll find the wide-open beaches. And it's just a short ride from town where we'll find this week's feature home and meet its designer, builder, owner Adam with wife Nikki and son Jin. And their cute little staffy dog called Mochi. And this is their green home. But first things first, we set up and prepare to enjoy a scrumptious home-cooked breakfast as I find out more about the lifestyle and philosophies of this warm and modern young family, while Mochi the dog remains mostly, well, uninterested.
We had friends who lived here and grew up here and said it was lovely, and we came up for a little while and we really loved it, so we ended up finding a block of land and building our own home. So yeah, and since we've started living here after about a year, Adam's dad, my father-in-law Laurie, came and lived with us as well. So it's really great, and Jin arrived and we're pretty happy up here.
But do you have to be a greenie to own a green home?
Certainly not, you just have to be an idiot not to, yeah. There's no reason at all to not have a green home. I mean, and the idea behind this one was to show people that you can live in every, the same level of comfort, style and amenity that anybody in the least green of homes, lives in. Whatever you choose to do in your private life is your private life, but it doesn't. There's no reason not to build a home that's intelligent, unless you're an idiot, basically. So, unfortunately.
So, while the hungry and unpaid crew look on, we enjoy a delicious serving of bacon and eggs before Nikki puts Jin to bed and we get comfortable in the lounge to talk more about idiots. Well, and the design features of a modern green home, of course, including their own.
A large part of green design is intelligent design, and intelligent design is appropriate regardless of the style and of the location and of anything else, because it's just, an efficient use of space, good ergonomic circulation in the area, and ensuring that the rooms are comfortable and enjoyable to be in. So that's applicable whether or not they've come to us and said, oh, we really want an eco home.
It also responds to the environment, which is one of the, I guess, most important parts of eco-design as well. Yeah,
but we keep that secret if they don't want to know about it, Basically, the intelligence behind design, if it's done well, makes the place a great place to be, and it just so happens that that's also sort of more environmentally friendly than going about it a different manner.
And what about, so far as a green home's a healthy home? That's probably a fairly true adage. Yeah,
definitely. I guess the fact that we've got concrete floors, so you don't have the same dust that you'd get in carpets. The paints that we use are low VOC, so you don't have the off-gassing. And we slept in this house the day after we painted, and there was no smell. So it's much healthier living.
Yeah, it is. And we knew that we were going to have kids in the home, so for that reason in particular, we were careful to make sure we didn't use any products that off-gas formaldehydes and stuff like that. And it makes such a difference, because a new home, if you walk into a project home, geez, they're unpleasant. Look, most people aren't doing bad things on purpose. It's just there's no options out there. Really, it's a government failing in the education and the implementation of infrastructure and promotion of appropriate technologies. The government has, across the board, categorically and catastrophically done a crap job. Absolutely crap.
Well, we look at, if you take that into the solar industry, and we've now just had the rebate turned right back down
Yeah.
Have you seen any effect of that in the industry, in the building industry?
Yeah, look, even just on a local level with us, we used to put solar onto every home we did because it made sense. Even if it was only from an economic point of view, people were 100% behind it, and people who wanted nothing else still wanted solar panels on their roof. We haven't put one system in since then, and nobody has expressed any interest whatsoever because the economics behind it just aren't there anymore. So it's killed that fledgling solar industry.
And that boomed for a while there. Of course, in the last few years it sort of boomed when we've seen a lot of solar companies come into the marketplace. So we've seen even in our patch down on the Gold Coast, there has been more than several companies have now closed their doors. In an industry you thought was probably one of those industries that had a big up curve, but it's really changed.
Sure, yeah. There was a lot of people who came into it quickly because there was a lot of opportunity there, and that's gone. Now, I have to say that solar power on individual homes is not necessarily such a sustainable option as everybody seems to feel it is. So I think the government handled it really badly, but I don't think that solar power on everybody's roof with no storage systems is the response that we need to generating green energy.
So in what way? Because it's not financially viable or effective?
Basically, the return on investment of the embodied energy in the production of the solar panels takes about 17 years of those same panels generating to repay. Now, those panels have about a 20-year lifespan, so you've got to factor in all of the other environmental costs with the sort of installation and the maintenance and so forth. So basically, they're an energy neutral proposition by the end of their lifespan.
Yeah.
And that vast amount of resources, including the government sort of subsidies, could have been better directed. Solar has a fantastic future, especially in Australia. We've got so much sun, but it needs to be infrastructure based, not individual distribution, because it doesn't do anything for peak load, and that's really our critical sort of point. But look, the real positive of that rebate was generating an interest in solar, which generates research and development. I mean, Australia, 15 years ago, Australia was leading the world in solar power, and then now we're so far behind, and almost every other country in the world's ahead of us in the development side of it. And those are the, that's the value, that intellectual property behind that stuff. That's where there's a whole economy, a sustainable economy to be developed, and that's where the significant sort of potentials are, because we want to be looking at solar power generation on a huge scale to replace coal and gas, not on an individual home. I mean, yeah, we've got panels on this house and they produce as much power as we use, and that's great. It wins us awards and it gets us publicity, but at the end of the day, it's not saving the world. It's not really doing anything. The other aspects of this house are much better in terms of sort of embodied energy and long-term sustainability.
Yeah.
And coming up after the break, Adam and Nikki talk us through all the features of their very green home.
You're watching Green Homes and Bacon.
So guys, tell me a bit about your home. What are some of the features, both sort of sustainable, efficient, clever, and otherwise?
What do you reckon?
It's not a hard question.
Wait,
It is actually a hard question. All right.
Well, let's start with the design principles.
Okay.
Perhaps, Adam.
Well, the design principles for us in this one, aside from using it as a showcase to demonstrate sort of the effects of passive solar and thermal mass and cross ventilation.
So we'll explain those. So how did you achieve those? Cross ventilation. I mean, it might sound obvious, or you're passive.
Sure. What we've done to achieve cross ventilation is ensure that there are openings in appropriate spots, i.e. we've got louver windows up high and raked ceilings upstairs, and the stairwell acts as a thermal chimney with the louver windows at the top. So you open those louver windows, all the hot air goes out, yes, and that pulls in the cool air. So if you open the right doors downstairs, from the doors that face the sort of south side, yes, the shady areas, you're drawing cool air through the house. If you close those high louver windows and close up all the doors, then you aren't letting any heat out and you keep the place warm. And you can let a few windows from the north side let in some of that sun-warmed air, and you still keep the place ventilated but warm. The thermal mass, the concrete floor that we've used in the main house is shaded from the sun in summer, and we've designed our eaves and overhangs so that the winter sun gets basically midwinter we get full penetration. And that was the large defining factor for the width of the home, sort of north to south. And what that does is in winter the sun warms up the slab all day, and then in the night the slab releases that warmth, and we don't need a heater in the house at all winter. In summer the slab stays, because the sun doesn't touch it, it stays nice and cool, and if at night you open some of the doors to get the cool evening breezes in, you cool it down even further, and so that just is maintaining sort of a cooler internal temperature summers.
And because concrete, although it might be warm, it's cooler to touch, because our body temperature is always going to be hotter, and so it has a cooling effect. In
winter, it's walking in bare feet on that sun-warmed concrete it can be unpleasantly hot. We've actually had to increase some of the shading because this Sunshine Coast is such a moderate environment. It's so easy to design a passive solar home here that works well with thermal mass that we actually had to scale back the amount of sunlight that we got onto that slab because it was getting too hot in winter. One of the ideas that we wanted to explore with this home was integration with the environment, and how we've done that is a sort of a gradual movement from the inside to the outside and a blurring of those lines. So the idea of a small home appealed to us because the less you're building, the more sustainable you are, the less you've got to clean, the less you've got to heat and cool, the less you've got to light, and all of those things. And pay for. So it's cheaper in the beginning, it's cheaper forever, it's less work and so forth. But of course, you know, nobody can live in a tiny box. So we designed this place to open up basically to outside. We came to the Sunshine Coast because it's gorgeous, and we didn't come to sit inside an air-conditioned box in a gorgeous environment. So the bifold doors that basically open up onto the deck is a transition between completely inside and sort of undercover, somewhat sheltered but exposed to the elements, and then you move out onto the lawn or into the exposed garden. At the other side we've got the sheltered deck and the breezeway, which is sort of an undercover area that's shaded and protected, and we've got screens that pull down to enclose that into a dining room in winter if we want to, but in summer it can be opened up and still you just get those cool breezes through with no sun. So that integration with the environment works really well for us because we like to I suppose take advantage of the beautiful climate. Sitting in this living room, we habitually get kookaburras flying straight through it and birds coming in and shitting on our couch and stuff like that. So even while you're inside the living room, once you've got your doors open, you've only got a roof and one wall in a living room. So we're not exactly inside.
Yeah, well you certainly achieve that because you can see as you walk in through the front, you can just keep walking, go straight out to the back, and it's
and that's what we do with guests we don't like. We just open up the house and let them go straight through out the back, and then we close the back door.
Also, with your home in 2011, you entered the Sunshine Coast Regional Council's Living Smart Awards.
Yep.
And won.
Yep.
Yay! Congratulations. So that's they call it the Glossy.
Yeah, what are they? The Glossy Awards, and there's a range of categories. We entered two. We entered the Golden Glossy, which is for excellence in sustainable design, which we won, and we entered a Resource Saver Award, which is more specifically about the materials and usage of in the construction, which we also won. So.
Yeah.
Step. And look, the progressive attitudes of the Sunshine Coast, what was Noosa Council, towards sustainability and general environmental themes was one of the draw cards for the area when we were looking at moving up here, and it certainly has been a lot more supportive of sustainable design, I suppose, than we've experienced.
So living in a green home and actually being a green lifestyle person are two very separate things. Where do you both see yourselves fit into that? Clearly you've got a very green sustainable home.
Yeah, look, we live in a green home and we enjoy our life. We don't make significant sacrifices to our quality of life or to the activities that we get involved with. But we are considerate, I suppose, of our usage of resources and materials. We shop locally, we shop at farmers markets, we eat pretty much organic food.
Does that include meat?
Yep, it includes meat almost every day. So, you know, we both drive to where we need to go, and we don't turn our PowerPoints off all the time. The TV stays on standby, the computer's always on standby, so we don't make insane efforts to scrimp and save every single, you know, watt of energy.
But that works because we've made decisions earlier on as well in terms of power saving appliances, having fuel efficient cars. So I think even though we don't need to make, you know, those daily decisions, I think that having made a decision to buy a hybrid car or the most fuel efficient, you know, ute that you can get, which Adam needs for his job, helps balance that.
Yeah, and I guess what we're trying to show even with the lifestyle is that if you make the right decisions in your initial design of the house, of your purchases or whatever, then pretty much you can relax. And
so for anyone that had a very ungreen home and were thinking of taking steps towards progressing some greener concepts, where do you think someone should start? What are the best places to start?
Well, look, renovating an existing home is greener by its very nature than building a new home, because you've got less embodied energy. You're taking advantage of what's already there. So that's green in and of itself, staying in a home rather than this constant urge to consume and grow.
Yeah, and can I just say that just at that point, that's very important, that in some respects we're all green because we would all maybe recycle our rubbish and separate glass and from general rubbish, and that's even where it starts, isn't it?
Yeah, look,
and what
it
you're
does.
saying is those basic steps that you take, not to waste things, to reuse what you reuse. Call it a green concept, but it just seems quite sensible that you don't waste things.
It does. And look, when you're replacing your fridge, get an economical one, get a green one, get one that runs on less energy than some of the other ones. So actually pay attention to what fridge you're buying. And the same with anything, any sort of those appliances that use power. Look at where they come from, look at what they're made out of. And sure, it doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all of your decision, but it could at least be a component, because some of those products are better for other reasons as well.
Yeah.
I suppose when you're going shopping, you could just make smaller decisions, looking at the ingredients on cleaning products, things like that, trying to buy recycled toilet paper. Just small decisions can make a difference.
Yeah, shopping at farmers markets instead of the supermarkets is fantastic. You're supporting local business. There's less sort of food miles in all of the produce. It's generally got less spray and pesticides, and so that's actually quite a big impact that you would make without changing anything else. So even though they're not sort of construction changes, there's still significant changes that can be made, and they're all based on awareness, which is really the key to sustainability. Yeah.
So on that note, Adam and Nikki show me around their low maintenance zen-like back garden, and we take a peek through Dad Laurie's self-contained pavilion, including his pride of joy wall-mounted 18,000 piece jigsaw. And just one more feature I'd like to point out is the imitation slate roofing tiles Adam has used, which are actually made from plastic in the form of recycled car dashboards. How clever. So that's it from Peregian Beach, as I thank Aaron and Nikki for being part of the program and cooking a pretty fantastic breakfast. And coming up after the break, Lee goes back to school.
You're watching Green Homes and Bacon.
I'm at the Norfolk Village State School here in Ormeau, where I'm going to be dropping into one of its Year 5 classes, just to see how eco-savvy our kids are becoming.
Norfolk Village State School is in Ormeau, which lies roughly halfway between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. And we're dropping in on teacher Lee Johnson's Year 5 class to check out their eco-credentials. And this is teacher Lee, with our Lee of course, and this is his class. And today's lesson is all about composting. But first, we asked Lee about how the kids embrace some basic concepts on sustainability.
Anything to do with sustainability tends to be something the children really want to pick up and run with. And what happens is we do something such as the composting we've done here, and then you find out by the end of the week there's 4 more kids doing composting at home, and I often get emails from parents saying, wow, the child didn't know about this and now they do, and now all of a sudden they're on their parents' case to compost, or turning lights off at the walls, 4-minute showers, reducing their amount of water they use. It's very interesting, some of the emails I get back from parents. It's very much an approach from students from grade 1 right through to grade 10 with the Australian curriculum, with an emphasis really being on the 3 R's, the reduce, reuse, recycle, and that's a really strong message that we're trying to push through with the children as well.
So we stand back as Teacher Lee carries out his lesson on composting, which he summarises with a very interesting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style competition.
Excellent. Okay, question 1. Which of these cannot go in a compost bin? Put your hands down because you wouldn't know the question just yet, would you? Banana peel? Grass clippings? Caden Malone? Or shredded paper? Which one can't? This should be easy. Who's responsible for looking after our planet? Superman? Spider-Man? Jasmine Bennett? Or everyone? Paige.
Well, that's composting,
Good girl,
recycling
everyone.
and reusing
So
sorted out, and now our Lee asked them some trickier questions, starting out with their understanding of climate change and global warming.
Global warming is like global warming is when heat and light get trapped in the Earth's atmosphere and temperature rises.
I think global warming is like
Global warming means the world and all the plants and trees and the air, the oxygen and everything that's inside.
Or where it's what you do to make the world warmer and make the world a better place to live.
When the temperature rises and the earth gets hot, and then it's caused by green gases and trap sunlight and heat, which causes it to be hot. When the world has warmed up and the ice, like in Antarctic, and all the ice that is surrounded in the north and south, when that starts to melt, and like when the tides come higher, and like that's when I think that's what global warming is.
Girls, what does the word environment mean to you?
I think it means looking after our nature, and then when we look after our nature, it respects us back by giving us food, air and water. Environment means to me nature. To reduce, recycle and reuse, and to help the environment for a happy future.
I think environment means maybe nature and the animals that live everywhere.
The word environment means to me like what you do to save the world from harm and like
superhero?
Yeah, basically like a superhero, except not really saving people.
So environment means to me, it means like nature's, like trees, grass, soil. That's like the environment that we live in. It's our earth and all its nature.
and everything like the trees and that.
Okay, so summarising the word environment's not so easy, but I wonder if they can spell it.
E-N-V-I-R-O-N-M-E-N-T.
E-N-V-I-R-O-N-M-E-N-T. E-N-V-I-R-O-N-M-E-N-T.
Well, so far an impressive effort for such a long and tricky word, but not all could get their M&Ms in the right order despite some very close attempts.
E-N-V-I-R-O-M-E-N-T.
Was that right? Was that the right one?
And that's a wrap from the Norfolk Village State School. Well done and keep up the great work. Well, that's it for tonight's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to Nikki, Adam and Jin for allowing us into their award-winning home out there at Peregian Beach and, of course, getting a glimpse of their lifestyle. Special thanks to the Sunshine Coast Regional Council who have helped make this segment possible.
And also everyone involved at the Norfolk Village State School, especially Mr Johnson's Year 5 class.
And for more information on tonight's program, you can head to our website at greenhomesandbacon.com.au. You can also go to our Facebook site. We'd love to see your comments. Please like us, please share us. And next week, I'll be heading out to the arty-farty town of Montville.
And we're both going to check out the Brisbane City Council's Green Heart Fair.
Great, I can't wait. We'll see you then.
See you then.
Cheerio.
Bye.